Technology Officer of Logicel Ghana Limited, which is a software company developing banking systems for the microfinance industry. Her role involves assessing the industry and coming up with practical solutions which are easy to use by persons with no formal banking training. She believes in the informal sector, which makes up between 60 to 70% of the population across Africa. She believes that they deserve the same banking services as those in the formal sector. Thus, by building affordable banking systems for them, the microfinance industry will be able to realize their full potential and offer adequate banking services to their customers. Before Logicel, Farida worked in the telecom software industry, developing mobile gateways and services for mobile networks and content providers. Farida is also an author and a disability rights advocate and has been featured on many media platforms. Notable amongst this is CNN African Voices in February 2015. She has also won a number of local and international awards and was adjudged the most influential woman in business and governance in the finance sector for her work in computerizing the microfinance industry. She served on the board of the National Communication Authority for nearly 3 years and has been an executive member of Share Care Ghana, which is an NGO which raises awareness for persons with autoimmune and neurological conditions for the past 4 years. She has also been appointed as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum. Please help me to welcome Farida Bedwe.
Then you have to hold it because I can't hold it. Can you hold it? Oh, please take your seat. Take your seat. Take your seat. Thank you. Okay. I think this must be my 5th or 6th time talking to you guys. Obviously not this cohort, but I have come about 4 or 5 times before. And I'm like, but aren't you guys tired of hearing about me? I mean, it's the same story over and over again. So today I decided to do something different. I'm tired of saying my story. If you want to read about me, all you have to do is to Google my name. There are lots of articles online, and you can even watch an interview. But for me, I like to think that the fact that you guys are all here means that out of thousands of applicants, you have been selected. So that should tell you that you have been put at a different level from your peers. And that is very commendable. And I think you deserve a round of applause for yourself. It's very important to recognize when people are doing well and to reward them appropriately. That is why some of these programs are very useful, because we are not used to giving people the pat on the back in this part of the world. We rather tend to bring people down. And we are never happy to see people thriving and doing well. And for me, I always say that is our downfall as a continent. And until we can rise above that, we'll continue to be where we are. I always say our problem is not our politicians. Our problem is us. And it's very important to recognize that, because the politicians are a result of our society. Our politicians are not people from outer space who have come to make our lives miserable. They are you and I who have decided to go into politics. So if there's something wrong with our political atmosphere, there's something wrong with us, and there's something wrong with our society. And until we recognize that, we'll continue to be in the same vicious cycle that we have been in since our countries got independent in the past 60 of less than 60 years. So let's bear that in mind. And whatever it is we are doing, remember that we are part of the problem and we are part of the solution. Now, something happened to me last year, which you guys are one of the privileged few who I'm actually telling about my opinion, because I haven't said this on a public platform yet. I have a disability called cerebral palsy, which is a brain damage that affects the motor development of the person who has it. So, in other words, it affects the way I walk, talk, as well as anything that involves the motor movement. Can those at the back hear me? Good. Now, there are a lot of people who are worse off than me in terms of the degree of disabilities. There are some who are better off than me as well. So it took me a long time of hard work, perseverance, and a very supportive family to get to where I am today. And last year, at the end of July, I had a slip disc at the back of my neck. The disc are cushions on the spinal cord that prevents the bones from rubbing against each other on the spinal cord. So when one comes out, depending on where it comes out, you can either be paralyzed for life. And it came up, and the higher it is, the more the damage is. So if it comes out at the base of your spine, it doesn't affect as much of your body as it is if it comes out on your neck. And mine came out on my neck. I don't know how many of you have seen a picture of the spinal cord before, but mine came out between C5 and C6. And I became paralyzed from the waist down. I had to have an emergency surgery. And after that, because what happened was I fell down and I couldn't get up. And that was like my worst fear has happened. So then I asked myself that, so what happened to you when suddenly what you have dreaded worst in your life, what you have dreaded most in your life come to pass? I mean, just think about it. Something that you have dreaded, something that you are afraid of, something that you know that, I mean, if this one happens to me there, I will die. Then it happens to you. How do you pick yourself up from it? You have to have a positive mindset. You have to realize that, I mean, you have to focus on the goal. You have to focus on the end, on what you want to achieve. So what happened was, after the operation, I was able to start moving my legs again, because what happened was, when it happened initially, I couldn't move any part of my body from my waist down, and it was really scary, really, really scary. I mean, I have never been paralyzed before. And so after the operation, I could move my legs a little, but then I still couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't do anything. So it took, so then they said that I had to do physiotherapy. And even that one, there was no guarantee that I would be back to where I was before I had the problem. Now, the reason why I am sharing this story with you is so that you can see what you are capable of doing if you set your mind to it. It's very important. Because The doctors told me that I shouldn't set my expectations too high. I should realize that I may not get as much pension as I did before. I should not give myself a lot of pressure and all those things. But I thought, no, my life is not meant to be in a wheelchair. Not after how far I have come. So I decided to push myself. I decided to do my physiotherapy religiously and get to where I am today. Now, before I had this condition, I was working with something called a rollator. A rollator is a four-wheel walker. You push it and you walk. So the past sessions that I have come to here, I have always used a rollator. And I'm sure some of the staff members who have been here can attest to that. But this time around, because I had to learn how to walk anew, I said, no, let me learn how to use the crutches for one, because that has always been what I wanted to do. I always wanted to learn how to use crutches, but because I was so set in my ways with using the rollator, I could never use the crutches the way I was supposed to use it. So I said, okay, it will take longer for me to get independent. It will take longer for me to reach the stage where I can do everything that I used to do with the rollator. But I'm willing to make that sacrifice because of the big picture. And that is one problem we have in this part of the world. We don't look at the big picture. We always want to reap very soon, very quickly. We never want to do long-term investments in ourselves or in our businesses or in our lives. Because as soon as we try and do something and we don't get the results that we want, we give up. And I think it's about time that thing changed. It's about time we learned that sometimes you have to wait for years, months, decades before you can see your returns on investments. Whether it is investing in yourself, investing in somebody else, or investing in your business, or whatever it is you are doing, you have to make the necessary sacrifices to get there. And for me, although I haven't gotten to where I want to be, I have done very well in the past 7 months of recovery. I mean, my friends who see me, they are like, wow, they have recovered so fast. I mean, they never dreamed that I would be up and about within the short period. But I knew what I wanted. And you have to be very passionate about what you want in life, because that's the only way you'll be able to achieve it. It's not a question of going into whatever it is half-hearted and saying that, oh, I have a plan B. Sometimes it's good not to have a plan B. Because if you have a plan B, then you always feel as if you have options. But if you know that you don't have any option, you stick to what you are doing and you focus on it and you make it a success. So what? If you fail, you learn from it and you move on. It's very important. Failure is not the end of the world. It is only the end of the world if you choose not to get up when you fall down. You have to get up and you have to continue. Because if you don't, then you are a failure. Sometimes you have to be broken. You have to go down to ground zero to be able to rejuvenate yourself. It's a very painful process, and that is what happened to me in July last year. I had to be broken. I had to go down to ground zero so that I could get rid of all my bad habits and learn how to walk the proper way with crutches. Because if I hadn't gone through that experience, there was no way I would be able to walk as well as I'm walking with crutches. So using that as a metaphor for your life, it's very important that sometimes when these things happen to you, you don't hold your head and say, oh my God, why me? And you start crying. because that is what we like to do in this part of the world. Then we go to church and pray. Then we don't use our God-given brains to solve the problems. I mean, it's about time that if you're a religious person, you realize that God gave you brains. If you wanted to do everything for you, He wouldn't have given you brains. I mean, sometimes I wonder about us as a continent, and we have no excuse for being where we are. And like I said, we cannot blame bad leadership because the bad leadership comes from our society. And until we can reform our society, we'll continue to have bad leaders. And reforming the society starts with you. You have to make the decision to do the right thing. You have to make the decision not to bribe the policeman. You have to make the decision to go through the long process the long bureaucratic process that you have to go through to get to your passport or whatever it is that you need to go through. There are no shortcuts in life. If you want the right thing to be done, you have to do the right thing. Okay. Now, I'd like to invite some of you to tell me about yourself and what you are doing and why you feel you deserve to be here. And if nobody volunteers, I'll pick people. So it's in your best interest to volunteer. Yeah, okay. I have some volunteers there, so please. I have a lot of volunteers. But I also want women. Please volunteer.
Well, I'm Ibrahim Fernand from Côte d'Ivoire. Currently, I'm working as field engineer at Schlumberger oil field. At the same time, also, I'm a businessman. I have one cleaning company. And now I'm about to develop one solution in Ivory Coast because I observed that there's a lot of car wash stations that are using water. So I brought a new technology which will be based on the vapor. And my services are mobile, like mobile wash the car. You call me, I'm going to your office and I wash your car for you. So, and at the same time also, I'm a motivator. I'm trying to empower a young youth. Because I was a teacher before, for like 5 years before I start working in the oil industry. So I use this ability also to try to encourage, to suscitate motivation among the youth. So this is exactly what I'm doing. But because I believe that we have to educate young generation, at the same time, you have to find job to them. At the same time, so if you want them to become an entrepreneur, you have to show them the way. So the reason why I decided to have a career in entrepreneurship.
Good afternoon. My name is Yetunde. I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse from Nigeria. I'm so happy that we have you here today because
this is not about me, this is about you.
Yes. No, I will drive home my point.
Tell me why you deserve to be here.
Yes. I work with people who have problems related to their mental health. Children with disabilities, cerebral palsies, and all that. And in my year of experience, I realized that the stigma around these people is very high. We have had mothers bringing children with this kind of problems and abandoning them in the hospital. That the social worker will have to go around locating them. Some of them even leave false addresses. That at the end of the day, the hospital will have to take care of them. So I felt, why not? Why is this stigma so high? Why are people neglecting people with these problems? They are human beings like us. You said something the other time, and I really appreciate your family. You said a strong family support. More of what these people need is that strong family support. And who are their families? I am their family. You are their family. Stigma starts from within the home. When you have a child who has disability and you start neglecting that child, then you are creating problem. thank God for the family support. She is where she is today by the grace of God and the family support she got. So that is what moved me. That's the passion I have. The advocacy to reduce stigma for the mentally ill, for people with disabilities, people with cerebral palsies and all that. And I think that is why I'm here today.
So my name is Debbie, Deborah Frimpoma Mensa, but you can call me Debbie Praka Asante, it's the same thing. My name is Debbie Praka Asante. I'm from Ghana, yes, and I'm the founder and executive director of Mercy Gives. So I was inspired to set up Mercy Gives because when I was young, I also had an experience, 9 years old, third degree burns. And then I came from a middle class family, but we had a lot of people helping me with my medical bills and everything. So when I was growing up, I decided to also have an organization where I can help people. So now what I do is I have initiated a project called iGirl, where I empower girls to overcome all the limitations they have and for them to know that they can be whoever they want to be. So why I feel I deserve to be here is because withstanding all the limitations I had, I've been able to overcome them, and now I'm empowering other people to overcome theirs. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jaida Sari, and then I am from Ghana. I work as a pharmacist, and then I work in the community pharmacy. Previously, I was in the hospital, but then one thing that I noticed was that in trying to provide pharmaceutical services for clients or for patients, one main challenge was sometimes the drugs are prescribed, but then the clients are unable to get their medications because they are probably for chronic conditions, they find it difficult. And so they defer with their treatment. In some situations too, when they're unable to get their drugs, they themselves go for other alternatives like herbal alternatives for their treatment, which have not been recommended by the doctors. There was some extreme situation whereby a client needed his medication. Unfortunately, the caregivers couldn't get the drugs, and so the health practitioners, you had to resort to giving an expired drug because we're weighing the benefit against the risk. And then realized that was the ideal way we could go by, we could solve the situation without the patient losing his life. So I decided that I started MedCode. What we do is that currently we are still developing an app. We are trying to help in the provision of pharmaceutical services by helping in the provision of holistic healthcare. So if you need your drug, using the app, you can then search for where you can get alternatives or where you can get your drug. So it'll be easier for you to get the medicine that you need for every patient. Now, I'd also want to use this unique opportunity to ask you to be my mentor because I've always wanted to speak to you, to reach out to you, but it's been very difficult for me. And so want to use this unique opportunity to talk to you. Yeah. So you mentor me.
Hello. I'm King Williams from Ivory Coast, next to Ghana, not too far. Côte d'Ivoire, for respecting the fact that we are Francophone. Thank you for being here. I work for women and girls because when I've been sent to university, when I passed my exam of A-level, I went to university. Some girls have been sent to English department, but they dislike English language, generally girls in our country. So I decided to commit myself to tell them that it's possible. Because before university, because of the crisis in Côte d'Ivoire, they locked university. So we spent 2 years at home. So when they opened university, that problem was there. So I've selected 5 girls that I've decided to coach. To tell them in 6 months, I will coach them and see what's going to happen. So I coached those girls, and today, 2 are working. 2 are dealing with the master level, and 1 is working with Japanese company. So when I saw that, I've seen that all is not about giving knowledge to people, but people need instructions. If they receive good instruction, they can arrive where they've never imagined. So I've decided to make it public for many girls to benefit. So when I started the next year, I've recruited 10 girls. The same thing happened. And this year I'm dealing with 30. So I'm like the mentor of 30 girls in Cote d'Ivoire. And I've selected also some women to talk to those girls, because there is no break between women and girls. So women they're not worried about the next generation of women. So I've decided to do that job and recruited also men to work for the sake of women and girls, because we believe that serving women is a kind of weakness. But I want to prove that it's wrong, that we can help women, because if they are working, they are trying to be independent, but men are not interested, the same problem will be there for long. So we have to join them, and it's for our own good to do so, for our own good, to have a sustainable society when we join together. And I believe I deserve to be here, because this idea is new in my country. And I was surprised the last time a lady from Cameroon told me that there's a program of United States, UN women, whose name is He for She. So I went to the internet, and when I saw the program, I was like, thank you, God, because our generation will be the blessed one. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. My name is Daniel Williams from Ghana. I've worked in this particular building for 9 years as a cleaner, Jesper and a few other people. So I was here when the whole Yali process and everything was going on. I just tried to take my time, study what has been happening, and then when I'm satisfied that it's time I enroll, I put an application. Why did I put in the application? I left GIMPA to co-own a company called Parliamentary News. And Parliamentary News, what we do is try to bridge the gap between Parliament and the public. Now, visiting a friend of mine who used to work in Parliament, we've noticed that there are so many things that happen in Parliament that the general public are not aware of. Especially when bills are sent to Parliament, when there are allies in Parliament, and all we know about Parliament is what we hear in the news. But there are other things that goes on in Parliament that the ordinary, the mainstream media did not report about. So we have now taken it upon ourselves to educate people who have direct interest or indirect interest in parliamentary activities, those who our laws will affect in one way or the other, their businesses or their social lives. We try to educate them on things that are going on in Parliament. When the laws are passed, we have those symposiums to educate them, and other activities that are parliamentary related. So these are the things that we do. And I think that I'm here because I want to learn more. I want to learn from people. I want to network so that moving forward, will not affect only Ghana, but other parts of Africa.
I am Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am Dr. Fatima Tamunu from Sierra Leone. I deserve to be here because I am a mentor at We Can Lead. Women everywhere can lead. So I help to mentor young girls to choose science in school and science-related careers at the university. And also, I'm an advocate for maternal mortality because right now, every day, more than 900 women die of preventable causes. So I'm trying to understand those causes and put a stop to them. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Adama from Cameroon, and I'm so humbled to have you here this evening. So I'm a medical anthropologist, and I co-run a center for adolescent pregnant girls, especially those who have been driven from home, and rape victims. So what we do at the center is we offer them life skill training and vocational trainings, and equally training in the agricultural sector. So what I think qualifies me to be here is that helping me means helping 1,000 girls, stranded girls out there. So through the Yali program, impacting on my life, I'm going to, in turn, impact on the life of many girls in Cameroon.
Okay, now Before I open up the floor to questions, I'd like to do a survey. How many of us are from Anglican West Africa? Anglophone West Africa. How many of us can speak French as fluently as the French-speaking people can speak English? How many of us can speak French as fluently as those from Cote d'Ivoire spoke English? There's a big problem in West Africa, and that is the language barrier. And I'm ashamed to say that we in the English-speaking countries, we don't see it necessary to learn French, but those in the French-speaking countries see it necessary to learn English. And the amazing thing is that they are more than us. So why should they learn English and we shouldn't learn French? It's a big shame because I mean in Ghana, we are surrounded by French-speaking countries. And yet, as soon as we cross our borders, unless we cross into the sea, we are stuck when it comes to communication. So please, let's try and make the effort. I mean, I know that we all learned French at one point in time in school, but how many of us took it seriously? So I think the question you should ask is why do the French-speaking country people take English fluently enough to speak it so fluently, and we cannot be bothered to learn their language? And it's not a good thing at all. And I'm also a corporate. I learned a little bit of French, then I stopped. I couldn't be bothered to continue. But then what I find is that right now, if I want to do business in Cote d'Ivoire or in Togo or in Senegal, I have a problem because I don't understand the language. And I now have to go and employ somebody to translate my software into French for me. If I had learned the language, it would have been easy for me. So that is another problem we have in this part of the world. So thank you. Right now, I'll open the floor for questions. No questions? Oh, I got the other, yeah, yippee, no questions, I can go. Okay, questions?
Yeah, thank you very much for this presentation. You gave a quote which is coming, I think, from Napoleon Hill, from his book Think and Grow Rich, where you said there is no, we shouldn't have a backup as a plan. That we shouldn't have a backup as a plan, because when we have backup as a plan, we may probably fail. What do you advise us to do?
What's the question? If you don't have a backup as a plan.
Okay. At the start of your presentation, you said when we have a plan B, it means that we may fail. Many of us cannot afford to have plan B because in our society we've been taught to have plan B, because it may happen that we may not really drive well. And then it's very easy. In your opinion, from your experience, what are the tools that are necessary to have in order to stick to our plan, that plan A? Thank you.
Okay. For me, I think it's a matter of focus and knowing what you want to achieve. And knowing that you do whatever it takes to achieve your goal. I think our problem is that as soon as we meet any difficulty, then we start shaking. But then when you realize that, I mean, for you to, for a house to be solid, you have to lay the foundation. And the more the deeper you dig, the stronger the foundation. And when you are digging, nobody sees anything until it starts rising. until the block starts coming up, then people are like, oh, okay, you have laid the foundation. Because the thing is, the foundation takes a lot of money. It takes a long time because it's the base on which you build. Once you have a solid foundation, building is very quick. Our problem is that we never take the time to build a solid foundation. Of course, I mean, there are certain times that you realize that, okay, because of the current government structure or economic policies or whatever, my plan may not work. Those times you have to advise yourself. But most of the time, it's not like that. We just give up too easily. Because, like I said, we want the quick way out. We want the easy way out. But there are no shortcuts to success in life. And these days, I've realized that our youth, we don't want to hustle. We think that the hustling is not for us. I mean, I look at some of my workers, and by the time they finish university and they come to school to work for me, they want to own a car. They want to own the latest mobile phone. And I'm like, your pocket cannot reach there now. I worked for over 8 years before I was able to qualify for a loan to buy a car. And that is the reality of the situation. We like living above our means. And because we are living above our means, we don't have the patience to work and sacrifice to achieve what we are destined to achieve in the long run. So yes, most of the time, you have to look at your goal. You have to look at your plan and analyze it and ask yourself, is it realistic in these modern times, given the political and economic climate? If it is, then you persevere. It may take 3 years, it may take 5 years, it may take 10 years. But as long as you really believe in what you are doing, just keep on, and you'll be successful.
My question first, I'd like to know, are you a developer? I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you a developer? Do you code?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. Tell me, what exactly made you...
I can't hear you.
What exactly made you decide to learn how to code? Then what languages do you code in? Then what challenges did you face when learning how to code, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so yes, I code in Java. I mainly use Java, but I know C++, C#, VB, and as well as other scripting languages. How did I get into coding? I started using the computer from a very early age. Because my handwriting wasn't very good, I used it to type letters. Then I learned how to write basic games on the computer. Then after junior high school, I skipped senior high school. I went straight to do a diploma in IT. And during that diploma, I was exposed to the various aspects of IT. And I just loved the idea of developing software because I was able to express myself creatively through that. Because I have always been a creative person, but then because I could not draw or paint or anything like that, this was a medium for me to express my creativity. And what was the last question? Or have I answered all? Challenges. I didn't face any challenges. It was very easy for me. That's why I tell the girls who are afraid of IT that, I mean, it's one of the easiest courses to do. A plus B is always C. It's not like English comprehension or literature or something which is subjective to your lecturer's understanding of your question. But this one, as long as you're able to produce the results, you get the mark. I don't see the big deal in IT and software being hard and all that stuff. It's one of the easiest subjects to do. Okay, next question. Yes?
My name is Marcus from Nigeria, and I see your profile around business. Now I came here to learn business, and I want you to help me because even till now, there are several ideas running in my head, and
So about what?
ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe your experience, because you've done great things according to the profile we are seeing. How did you start up in business? How were you able to define your path, and then the challenges we are expecting to face and how we can go through them, especially getting one idea inside plenty ideas that keep coming in the area of business. Maybe you want to help us with that.
For me, I always said that I never set out to be an entrepreneur. I was perfectly happy to work for somebody for the rest of my life. I didn't want the hustle of now having to worry about paying people at the end of the month and looking at your books and praying to God for money to hit your account and all that stuff. That goes with entrepreneurship. I always said that people don't tell the real story about entrepreneurship, because if they did, not many people would run into that entrepreneurship here, because it's hard, it's difficult, and it's not an easy place to be. So what happened was I was working with a microfinance company. I developed a software for them. Then other microfinance companies wanted to use the solution. So then I decided to set up an IT company with my partner to sell the solution to other microfinance companies, and that is how I started my business. Now, if I hadn't taken the extra pains of developing the solution, I probably wouldn't be in the business that I am today, because I wasn't employed to develop a solution. I was employed to manage their IT infrastructure. So sometimes you do things, you go the extra mile for other people, then it ends up working out for your benefits. So don't think that when you're working for somebody, you're just working for the person. You're working for yourself. Because whatever bad habits you have when you're working for that person, you have them when you are working for yourself. I realized that because there are certain things that when I was an employee, I didn't like to do. When I started running my own company, it was so difficult for me to do it, because that's just how I am. So don't think you are doing your employer, you are doing yourself. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. My name is Cynthia from Nigeria.
Yeah.
And I studied mathematics in the university, and I have passion for that.
I can't hear you.
Okay, I said my name is Cynthia from Nigeria.
Okay, Cynthia.
I studied mathematics.
Okay.
And I have done a few things in computer sciences with respect to developing a few things, but I left it back then when I was in school. And in my head, I have some maths things, like maths games I want to develop and some apps I want to put in place. But you know, sometimes when I explain it to someone, I really want to do it myself, because I feel someone out there is not understanding it the way I'm understanding it. So I want to go into coding. I want to find out, what's your advice for someone who wants to go into the technology space? What are the steps you prescribe for the person? What do I need to do? And then if you have some places to refer me to, that would really be fantastic. And like my colleague said, I'd also like you to be my mentor. Thank you.
With regards to going into coding, it's actually very easy these days. All you have to do is to go to Google and select what language you want to learn. Now, it depends on what kind of application you want to build, because certain languages are better for certain applications. So for instance, obviously, if you want to build a mobile app, then you are looking at Android or or iOS. If you want to build a web application, and you're looking at either Java EE or .NET or one of those other scripting languages. Yeah. So it depends on what you want to do. And then when you identify the kind of application you want to build, then you know what language you want to learn, then you can just Google Java for beginners or something. Then all kinds of names will come up. There's also this great website, Coursera.org or Coursera.com, where they have teachers who teach you all kinds of subjects for free. So, but those are video tutorials, so you have to have a lot of bandwidth to watch them. But they're actually like a series of courses. So it's like a full course. It's my time up.
As in professional.
So yeah, so that is it. Okay. Yeah, next question.
Thank you. I'm Mary Kosa from Ghana. This is more of social life. I offered English and education in my university, but I finally found myself to be passionate of physically challenged people, more of visually impaired. But there's this thing I've learned. They don't want to be seen as you sympathizing with them. Go straight, deal with them like any ordinary person. And I have these two people who are also having this cerebral palsy problem, and they are trying to do their own thing. But one is always down. Now, I want to approach them in order to push them up or encourage them. But I don't actually know the language that will push them off from me or that will pull them close to me. And you being in that situation, I just want to ask how best you can guide me if I'm to approach such people. Not to push myself on them, but at the same time, bringing them up to achieve their aim. Thank you.
Okay. In the first place, cerebral palsy is not considered a problem, it's a condition. So you get that right.
Thank you.
Okay. Secondly, just approach them the way you will approach anybody else. It's the fact that you treat them differently that will annoy them. So just approach them like how you approach the guy sitting next to you and talk to them as though there's nothing wrong with them. Because most of them, there's nothing wrong with their mental capabilities. It's just their physical capabilities. Okay. Now I've been asked to I totally forgot that I was supposed to talk about gender as well. So I will talk a bit about gender. I mean, what am I supposed to say about gender anyway? I mean, yeah. that what even yes we can as women. Yes, yeah we can. Obviously I proved it and all the women sitting here have proved it. I think that should be it. But then okay. When it comes to gender issues, I say that look, we are the ones limiting ourselves. I mean, we tend to make excuses for not doing certain things because of our gender. But I never let that be an issue. I mean, I always say that when I was working in my before I became an employer, when I was working for other people, sometimes I wake up in the morning, my knee is hurting, and I know I wouldn't want to go to work, but then I bandage my knee and I go to work, so that I don't give them the opportunity to say that because I have a disability. I'm using it as an excuse not to perform the way I'm supposed to perform. And the same thing with our gender. I mean, let's face it, we are biologically inclined we are biologically supposed to have children and keep the home and do all those things. But there's a way that we can manage it, where we don't get it wrong, and one part of the equation doesn't get deprived of what we're supposed to do. But I think most of us, well, some of us, we haven't learned how to do that equation yet. But there are certain things that we do that make it difficult for people to want to employ women. And I will give you an example. Although we are supposed to, we have the right to go on maternity leave, I mean, you have to look at the company that you are working in. If you are employed in September, then by December you say you are going on maternity leave. I mean, or you don't, or you get pregnant within 1 year of being employed. It's not fair on the company. You have to realize that, and you have to put those things into consideration. Because when you behave like that, it makes it difficult for a company to employ another woman. And that is the fact of the matter. I am the CTO and co-founder of a company. And for me, sometimes the way the girls behave in my company, I'm like, no. So sometimes when my partner is complaining about them, I really cannot say anything because it's true. That's how they behave, and it's not right because you are impeding the progress of another woman. And we can't keep letting some of these things hold us back. If it means that we have to work harder than the average guy, we have to. It's not fair, but that is the reality of the situation. Life is unfair. You have to do what you have to do to reach the level that you want to reach. So please, my fellow women, I know that there are certain times of the month when you are just not productive, when you just feel like curling up in your bed and not going to work. But because you have been given a responsibility to work, you have been given this challenge to do it to the best of your abilities. So that nobody will ever say that, oh, because she's a woman, she didn't do this or she didn't do that or anything like that. I had to fight that thing twice because I was a woman and I had a disability. And those are two strikes against me. But because I knew that, I never gave my employers a reason to regret employing me. And that is one thing that we have to do as women. So have I addressed your gender issue? Where are you? Okay. Yeah, I have questions. I can't hear you.
Hello, good evening. Yes, I'm Eva, I'm Ghanaian, and I do more of gender, human rights, advocacy, and activism. If given the opportunity to propose a policy to government for the marginalized, what would your policy be? And what message do you have for the marginalized in society? Thank you.
Let me ask a question. Who are the marginalized?
Okay. So,
because the difference between those who are marginalized and those who perceive they are marginalized, but they are not really marginalized.
Okay.
So who are the marginalized?
All right. So the reason I'm asking, the marginalized is disadvantaged people. People who are very depressed or who government policies or society does not include. I'm talking of social inclusion because most of our policies do not consider social inclusion. And part of the people who did the coalition for collating signatures for the passage of the affirmative action bill in Parliament. And it's currently under review, which maybe you'll be in the known of it. So since it's under review, I'm sure that you are somebody who is making an impact. And I believe that in your position and with your influence, you can add a voice to these policies to be reformulated or reconsidered before it's finally sent to Parliament to be passed.
Okay, the reason why I was asking who are the marginalized is because, I mean, let's face it, we have opportunities that we refuse to take. And that goes against us a lot. I mean, you're talking about the affirmative action bill. How many MPs do we have? How many female MPs do we have in Parliament? And it's not because, most of the time, it's not because they didn't vote for the women. It's because the women refused to stand for that position. So before we can talk about affirmative action bill and all those things, we have to realize that we have a part to play in the whole thing. It's no longer a question of them cooking the food and giving it to us to eat and not just eating it. We have to contribute to the whole process. We have to go into politics. Although most of us don't want to go into politics. It's something that we have to do. We really have to take out the mantle and do what we need to do to justify the affirmative action bill. Because what's going to happen is that if they say that, okay, for the affirmative action bill, so many seats are dedicated to women, and the women do not take it up, then the whole thing is useless. So it's very important for the marginalized, as you say, to realize the role that they have to play in this whole process and play it as well. Because if not, policies and things will be useless. Okay. The last question.
Thank you very much. My name is Lawrence from Ghana.
From Ghana?
Yes, please. I'd want to ask, you look focused. And usually when you are focused and you are doing something, there are a whole lot of distractions that you need sections like this to keep you going. So I'd wanted to ask, what keeps you going? When you're focused and you want to do something, there are distractions. Certain things would try and come, challenges. I want to know what keeps you going. Where do you draw your motivation from?
Okay, it's knowing what I want to achieve and the impact that I want to have that keeps me going. Knowing what I want to achieve and the impact that I want to have that keeps me going. And I mean, yeah, that's basically it. Because I mean, if you see the impact that your work is having, and you can see that, I mean, without what you are doing, other people may not get what they want or may not be able to achieve what they are supposed to do. It is enough motivation on its own to keep you going. Yeah. I think the questions are over. Huh? Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. And